Sarah and Mark were driving home late one night when their car suddenly sputtered and died on an old deserted dirt road. The only light came from the full moon, casting eerie shadows through the trees lining the road. Mark tried to restart the car, but it was no use. They were stranded. "We'll have to walk to find help," Mark said, trying to sound calm. Sarah nodded, though her heart was pounding. The woods around them seemed to close in, the darkness oppressive. As they started walking, they heard rustling in the bushes behind them. Mark shone his flashlight, but there was nothing there. "Probably just an animal," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. They continued walking, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. The rustling came again, this time closer. Sarah clutched Mark's arm. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Before Mark could respond, a low growl emanated from the darkness. They spun around, the flashlight beam catching a pair of glowing eyes reflecting in the distance. The eyes disappeared, and the growling stopped, leaving an eerie silence. Panic set in, and they quickened their pace. The sound of footsteps behind them grew louder, matching their own. Sarah glanced back and saw a shadowy figure dart behind a tree. "Mark, there's someone out there," she said, her voice trembling. Mark turned, his flashlight shaking as he scanned the area. "Who's there?" he shouted, but the only answer was the wind rustling the leaves. They started running, their breaths ragged. The footsteps behind them quickened, closing the distance. Mark grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her along. The flashlight beam bounced wildly, casting fleeting glimpses of the figure stalking them. Suddenly, Sarah tripped and fell, scraping her knee. Mark helped her up, but as he did, the flashlight slipped from his hand and shattered on the ground. They were plunged into darkness. The growling returned, now so close they could feel the vibrations in their chests. Desperate, they stumbled forward blindly, the presence behind them almost palpable. Just as they thought they couldn't go any further, they saw a dim light ahead. A house, with its porch light on. "Run!" Mark yelled. They sprinted towards the house, adrenaline pushing them forward. They reached the porch and banged on the door. "Help! Please, help us!" Sarah cried out. The door creaked open, revealing an old man with a shotgun. He took one look at their terrified faces and pulled them inside, slamming the door shut. "You were lucky," the old man said, locking the door behind them. "That thing out there, it doesn't let many escape." Sarah and Mark huddled together, shivering with fear and relief, as the growling continued outside, circling the house, waiting for another chance.